Well, they're a very multiple defense, and it's going to be, I think, interesting to see what they choose to play against us because they've shown a lot. And so we have to prepare for that. And so we've just got to continue the preparation today with our coaches, and then tomorrow start that preparation. And we're going to decide really what we have to practice. And it's just like last week, they were a odd defense, odd front, and also an even defense. Well, they didn't play any. We practiced odd all week because that's something different than what we've seen for the most part, other than Maryland. And we practiced against that, and then they show up and play even. So we had to adjust during the game. We ran some different, they were plays we had, but we really didn't have in the game plan when they played the even. So we had to make adjustments throughout the game. And with our players, I thought our players did a good job of that. So this is going to be an adjustment game as well.
Success if you have it in running. What's the key to sustaining that? Obviously, you got a great offensive line play, the running backs running hard, but what's the key to sustaining that for this week?
Well, the offensive line dictates a lot of that. I thought our running backs, Cole and Morgan really ran hard in this last game. And I thought they, for the most part, they made really good decisions on their cuts and where they went. There was a couple that they wish they could have had back, but that happens. And so we just got to continue that. I think we've got confidence in that. And so, and you need that in any game. You got to be able to run it and throw it both. If you come one-sided, then it's too easy for the defense. And so we've got to continue that.
How gratifying was it to watch what I think were 27 straight runs to close out a game, to get a couple of touchdowns in the process for this team? How gratifying was that to see?
Well, very. Anytime you can do that, especially in those conditions, those were crazy conditions. But to be able to do that is what you want to do as an offense. You talk about closing games out, and we were able to do that. And, again, I give a lot of credit to our offensive line, our tight ends, and for blocking, and then, the running of our running backs. And, again, I thought they did a great job.
Richard throwing on a very windy day, still being effective most of the time. Talk about that, how he handled that.
Well, I thought he did a really good job, as you mentioned, with the conditions. Those with the wind and the rain and everything. I mean, that's hard. And but I do think this for any quarterback, when you're able to run the football, that helps that quarterback. And he did a really good job of throwing the football. And we had some big third downs there. He had some big time throws down the field to Wap on some crossing routes. And so I thought he handled the game very well.
The offensive line kind of got experience playing together this year. Maybe what are a couple things you've liked from them, and a couple things that still need to be addressed going forward?
Well, I think the biggest thing is just we've been banged up in there, and you've got like McKenzie, a redshirt freshman that really probably shouldn't be playing too much right now, and he's playing a lot. But I think what's happened is that experience has really helped him grow as a player. And so I think those guys right now are working well together, and I think a little bit of that is kind of having everybody there, for a couple games now, more or less. The thing is we had, I think, 4 missed assignments up front. And, for 5 guys, when you play 75 plus plays, it's not a lot, but yet you don't want those. And so, in this particular week, when we've got multiple defense and fronts and things, we've got to do a good job of not having missed assignments.
How good, maybe they're different running styles, but with Cole and Morgan, it felt like they kind of fell into a really nice rhythm of kind of 4 or 5 snaps and then come out, and then 4 or 5 snaps and then come out. How important maybe is it for guys to be able to play in that rhythm where they know they're going to get a lot of work in a short space of time and then come get a breather and then kind of come back in on a normal rhythm like that?
Yeah, I think that's a good question, but I think that's probably one that they would have to answer how they feel about that. Coach Hart is the guy that rotates them in and out, and sometimes it's based on situations and sometimes it's not, but he's the guy that rotates them, and obviously having been a back, he knows what it's like to be in there for a while and play and then come out and not just one play and then off the field like that. So I think, there's having those continuous reps like that is very important for them, and I think he does a great job of rotating them for us during the game.
Looks like he and Thomas is running better. He had to run a long way on that one play. How much does that help you to have him?
Well, it helps a lot, having a tight end that is a threat in the passing game. And what happened was on his touchdown throw, they were in what we call quarters coverage, and the safety, we faked the run, and the safety came down so hard to stop like the bubble and then the linebacker went with the fake, and so there was nobody in the seam. And so, I mean, having a threat like that's very important. You got to take advantage of teams that are doing that to you, and he was able to do that. I got on to him a little bit yesterday, and I said, that's not what we call ball security after he caught the ball. He was running with the ball out of here or whatever, and then finally, I think it hit him about halfway down, and I think he heard me say, tuck it away, and he put it back in there and ran the rest of the way. But we were kidding around with him a little bit about that, but, it was a great play in that game.
You ever had an offensive line that had no false starts, no sacks, and no holding penalties?
I don't think so. Not that I can recall. Usually you have something in there, but I think that was great focus by our players. And, I do think this a little bit is, we practiced, I can't remember if it was Tuesday or Wednesday, we practiced outside in miserable weather. And, when you have to concentrate in practice and then you go to the game and it's the exact same thing, I think that's a big bonus. Sometimes teams go inside when it's that bad, but we stayed outside, and I think that kind of helped us in preparation for that game.
Without giving away any secrets, just how much does it help the offense to have two running backs like Morgan and Cole, who are capable of rushing for over 100 yards in the game, and basically doesn't allow the defense to key on maybe one running back?
Yeah, well, it keeps them fresh, and I think anytime you can stay fresh as a football player, with the contact and, sometimes long plays and things like that, or long drives, that's a big plus. So having both those guys is a big bonus for us.
Which is this week against Purdue. You watching defensively, is it more they're going to play you man, your guys outside, is going to be where you have to win one-on-one matchups, or is it more they're going to play more zone and that kind of thing?
I wish I knew the answer to that one. I don't. I don't know how they'll play because they've played both, and it's amazing, though, like teams sometimes will play you different than what you think. And, I mean, I thought for sure, and so did our coaches, that we would see the odd front against Rutgers, and again, we did not see it until after the break. I mean, when we came back and there's 2:31 left in the third quarter, that's when we then saw it. I mean, but we didn't see it until then. And it was just like, why? Well, after you think about it for a little bit longer, maybe you start thinking of how they might have been thinking, but you don't know for sure. So, again, we don't know, what Purdue's going to do. They may look at us and say, hey, we've got to do this to stop this, or we've got to stop Simi, or we got to stop the run, or we got to stop, now they're going inside to their tight ends and slots, and now we got to play this coverage to take away. I mean, you just don't know their thought process right now, and that's where you get into the game and you have to adjust a little bit.
Growing up as a Muncie area kid, any early memories of the Bucket game or becoming aware of what that meant?
Well, yeah, I hate to say this, but my first college game as a little kid was going to the Purdue game. So it wasn't the Bucket game, but it was a Purdue game. And I remember my dad taking me to that. But I did go to the Bucket game, and when my brother played here at Indiana, and got to experience a lot of those games and the rivalry and the intensity and just what all that was about. But yes, I've attended some of those games, and I know I was rooting for Indiana.
With Richard reassuming the starting role, do you think that in and of itself has given him a higher confidence level because his throws are just seeming to be more accurate, and the 98% or so of his yards in the Rutgers game came across the middle?
Yeah, I again, probably have to ask Richard on that one, but I just see, I think he's very comfortable right now in that position, and, he's playing really well. I do think this, and I said it earlier, but whenever you can have a running game, that helps support that quarterback. And we've got a good running game going right now that's helped, supporting him. So, and whenever we've asked him to throw, he's done a really nice job.
You guys did a really nice job with the shotgun snaps and the wet conditions. but one, slipped through his hands. And I thought he showed real composure, just snagging it and then going to get a first down.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he really did. And like you said, I thought Hunter Littlejohn did a great job of the snaps the entire game. And that's easier said than done. I mean, we practice what we call wet Wednesdays, where we squirt water on the balls and all that stuff to simulate, that. But there's nothing like what they were playing in. So I don't, other than our practice that we had that week.